I actually have the opportunity to be your first speaker today. As I mentioned, I work for a company in Provo, and we have clients that are other businesses, places like Microsoft, Facebook, Google. These are the people we work with. And it's very important for us to continually create new products to offer our client. So about once a year, we have a day that we call a FedEx Day, where we will just take a whole day just to innovate, to brainstorm, to think of new ideas about what kind of products we can create for those companies. The point of it being FedEx Day is that it has to happen within 24 hours. So we would start Thursday at noon, and then we had 24 hours just to come up with anything that we could think of in our company. We could create rough sketches, we could create designs, we could create videos, anything that we thought might say, hey, here's this new product idea that I have. When noon arrived on Friday, then we would all get up and do our presentations of our products, and we would have a big lunch together there as a team. The coworker who got up just before me was what we call a master trainer. So every week he goes out and he's training communication skills to different people in different companies. He also spends a lot of time on the stage giving speeches. And he got up and shared his idea, and he did a great job. And then I got up thinking I was pretty hot stuff. And I shared my idea, the things that I had come up with over the previous 24 hours, and I sat down, everyone clapped. And then another one of my coworkers, who was also a master trainer, got up and presented his idea. Prior to that day, I felt like I was always pretty good at public speaking. I took a public speaking class in college. I got an A. I always felt like I was up there. And then I saw these guys, one right before me and one right after me, who were up here. And I saw that I was really down here. And that's a scary thing to realize when you say, hey, I'm really not as good at this as I thought I was before. My manager suggested that I start attending a Toastmasters club. I feel like it's definitely made a big difference. These guys can probably agree. Two of them have seen me since I started in the club. One of them's back there going like this. Oh yeah. So maybe that says how bad I used to be. I don't know. I've had the opportunity to compete in a couple of contests and have done well in those contests. And what I've learned over the last couple of years is not so much that they were better presenters than I was. It's that they prepared better than I did. So that's what I want to focus on, is your preparation and practicing. There's a quote, you guys have heard this before, practice makes perfect. Right? And I've heard more recently people are saying the phrase, perfect practice makes perfect. There is a behavioral psychologist, his name is Anders Ericsson, and he's been studying what he calls deliberate practice. So we're going to kind of lump deliberate practice and perfect practice together for the sake of this discussion and talk about the skills associated with that. So there's 3 skills with what we will call perfect practice. The first one is to break it into smaller pieces. I see you guys are writing. I'll give you a second there. The second part of perfect practice is to practice in a real scenario. The third part of perfect practice is to receive immediate feedback from a coach. Let's talk about each of these for a second. All 3 of my friends back here have participated in speech contests through Toastmasters. And what you need to do is practice, and we'll talk about how we would use those 3 elements. So one of those, as I talked about, is breaking it down into smaller pieces. So that might be one piece is writing my speech. One piece is memorizing my speech. One piece is deciding, am I going to use a note card? Will I use a full page of notes? With that, once I have that speech memorized, what kind of movement will be built into my speech? Will I be moving around on the stage? What kind of hand gestures will I be using? And you can learn each one of those pieces and then combine all of those together. Second was to practice in a real-life scenario. What that means is that I'm going to practice as if I'm actually doing it. Let's take we have an Aggies fan back here. Football or basketball? But let's pick one. Pick a sport. Football or basketball? Football. Okay. Let's say my friends and I, we get together and we go out and we play a game of flag football. Are we practicing? Not really. We're just playing a game of football. Practice means that we're doing these things that we just talked about. Putting into a real-life scenario, like speaking, for example. When you practice speaking, you would wear the outfit that you're going to wear. I saw on your sheet here that the way you dress is one of the judging criteria. So you might want to dress the way that you will actually dress for the competition. You will be timed for the competition as well. Do you guys remember what the time limit was? 3 minutes. I think you can go up to 3:10, 3:15. Let's just say 3 minutes. So you'll want to practice with a timer and make absolutely sure that you can always be within that time. That's practicing in a real-life scenario. And then finally, getting immediate feedback from a coach. Have somebody watch you and then offer feedback to you. Who are some of the people that could be coaches for you guys? Teachers? Who else? Parents? Who else? Somebody besides the Aggie. Friends. Yeah, there's 3 easy ones right there. Parents, teachers, and friends will all be willing to give you feedback. You know who else can give you feedback? You can. You can record yourself and then watch that later. And if you've never done that before, it will be an excruciating experience the first time you do it. You will judge yourself harder than anyone you know, and you will notice all of the little things that you do. When I was in high school, we had to do some presentations, and there was one kid who kind of tried to build some movement into his speech, and he kind of walked over here, and then he came back over here. And we were watching these in the class, and when the teacher hit fast forward, you could see how much he went back and forth that whole time. He never stood still during his speech. He was just pacing the entire time. So remember that you have those coaches to use. So let's review really quick those 3 steps. Can you guys remember them? What was the first one? Break it into smaller pieces. The second one? Practice in real scenarios. And the third one? Yeah, get immediate feedback from a coach. So here's my challenge for you guys. The contest is October 15th. It's a little over a week away. Do you guys think you could practice 50 times before then? Does that sound like a lot? He says no. She kind of is concerned about it. Yeah. It's a 3-minute speech, which means that if you spent a half an hour practicing, you could run through it 10 times. You would only need to do that for 5 days to get in 50 times. So that's my challenge for you. Practice 50 times before the contest. That's my challenge, and here's my promise. My promise is that perfect practice prevents poorly performed presentations. Thank you.